The U.S. Supreme Court hears arguments today on whether overtly religious schools may be publicly funded charter schools. And the Trump administration has dismissed the scientists behind the National Climate Assessment. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. President Trump celebrated his first 100 days in office. He held a rally in Michigan last night, just outside Detroit.
This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in.
In his first 100 days, Trump has signed scores of executive orders. He's fired hundreds of thousands of federal workers, slashed DEI efforts in the government, and implemented aggressive tariffs that have disrupted the global economy. He's infuriated foreign allies, and he's contended with U.S. judges who have questioned his failure to use due process to deport migrants illegally in the U.S. Trump supporters say he is taking the steps they want, but polling of Americans suggests falling support for Trump, even on his key issue of immigration. The U.S. Supreme Court will tackle a knotty conflict between church and state today. At issue is a test case from Oklahoma. NPR's Nina Totenberg reports it's over whether overtly religious schools may also be publicly funded charter schools.
When two Catholic dioceses in Oklahoma sought to establish a publicly funded virtual charter school, the state Supreme Court ruled the avowedly religious nature of the school, including teaching the faith to students and mandatory mass attendance, conflicted with the state and federal constitutional ban on state establishment of religion. The school appealed to the Supreme Court, contending that when a state sets up a charter school program, it can't say that no religious organizations need apply. Now the Supreme Court will decide. Nina Totenberg, NPR News, Washington.
The Trump administration has dismissed the scientists who are working on the National Climate Assessment. As NPR's Rebecca Hersher tells us, the administration says it is reassessing the scope of that report.
The National Climate Assessment is the most trusted and complete source of information about how climate change is affecting the U.S., from sea level rise to drought. About 400 authors had already begun work on the next edition, which is supposed to come out in 2027. Now, that work has halted. Dave White is a researcher at Arizona State University who has worked on 2 previous editions. He says canceling it
will put Americans' lives at risk, the economy at risk, reduce our ability to respond to climate change, and reduce our competitiveness in the global economy.
The White House did not respond to questions about the future of the National Climate Assessment. Rebecca Hersher, NPR News.
The only predominantly black, all-female unit to serve in Europe during World War II has now been awarded a Congressional Gold Medal. One unit member was Puerto Rican, another was Mexican. NPR's Rachel Treisman has more.
The 6888, as it's called, was a mostly black, all-female unit that made history by deploying to England in early 1945. Their mission was to sort through backlogs of undelivered mail for American service members. The women worked around the clock to clear some 17 million pieces of mail in just 3 months, half the expected time. After working in France, they returned home in 1946 without any public recognition for decades. Congress bestowed the award, and President Biden signed the law in 2022. Only 2 of the 855 women lived to see this medal ceremony. Rachel Treisman, NPR News.
A film about the 6888 has been released on Netflix. President Trump has opened a new front in his battle with the media. He has targeted the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. NPR's David Folkenflik reports the CPB is now suing the White House.
The White House sent an email to 3 of the 5 members of the CPB board saying they had been fired and thanking them for their service. Thing is, it's not clear Trump has the power to do that. As it noted in legal filings, federal law states the CPB is not a government agency. The attempted firings are part of Trump's larger effort to strip public broadcasting of taxpayer funds. He says he'll ask Congress to pull back more than $1 billion already allocated by lawmakers for public broadcasting for the next 2 years. PBS and its member stations rely on federal funds from CPB for 15% of their revenues. For NPR member stations, it's 10% on average. NPR itself receives just 1% directly and a bit more indirectly in fees paid by stations. David Folkenflik, NPR News.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has suspended a county judge accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities. From member station WWII, Mayan Silver has more.
Judge Hannah Dugan has been charged with 2 federal crimes, including obstructing a proceeding. She's accused of directing a Mexican citizen defendant out of her courtroom as U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents sought to apprehend him. In its 2-page order suspending Dugan, the state's highest court, which is liberal-controlled, said it was acting to protect public confidence in Wisconsin courts. Barry Burden, politics professor at UW-Madison, says of the court's unanimous decision,
hopefully it brings down the temperature, lets this work its way through the legal system as it needs to, and we get a resolution from a court rather than through the media.
Dugan's case is going before a grand jury in federal court, which will determine whether charges proceed. For NPR News, I'm Mayan Silver in Milwaukee.
Trump's tariffs are rattling the coffee industry. Murray Carpenter reports the tariffs are supposed to encourage production in the U.S., but that's not going to happen with coffee.
The U.S. grows about 1% of its coffee supply in Hawaii and Puerto Rico.
The United States is the largest coffee-consuming nation in the world.
Melissa Raftery roasts more than 80,000 pounds of coffee each year at 44 North Coffee in Maine.
We can't grow enough for ourselves.
President Trump's first round of tariffs included steep import taxes on major coffee producers, Vietnam and Indonesia. He's paused the country-specific tariffs and replaced them with 10% tariffs on most imports. But the coffee industry is rattled. The National Coffee Association has requested an exemption from the tariffs, and the entire industry is waiting to see how things shake out. For NPR News, I'm Murray Carpenter.
Today, Vietnam is marking 50 years since communist forces seized the city of Saigon, ending the Vietnam War. NPR's John Ruwitch reports Vietnam calls this the war of resistance against America.
Following the war, Saigon was renamed Ho Chi Minh City after the revolutionary leader Ho Chi Minh, and its streets were packed for the celebration. The authorities put on a military parade with goose-stepping soldiers and jet and helicopter flybys. Chinese, Cambodian, and Lao troops also took part. Vietnamese Communist Party chief To Lam addressed the nation. He celebrated the victory as one of justice over tyranny and said the focus now is on the future. To build a better Vietnam, he said, the country must unleash all productive forces, unlock resources, and tap the potential to accelerate socioeconomic development. More than 58,000 Americans and hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of Vietnamese died in the war. Today, the two countries enjoy close relations. John Ruwitch, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.